Kudos, just to confirm. Fantastic. Now I'm going to have to minimize for the minute. I'm running off of one screen only today rather than three screens because I've got some contractors in the other room who have promised to be quiet until 2 o'clock UK, and then they can let all hell loose straight after that, if that's okay. Mehdi, good afternoon to you, and a special hello to Mehdi, who I know is not in Ukraine just now, but is originally from Ukraine. So huge kudos to you for making this call, and I hope it was worth it. So I can't minimize Zoom while I'm in this thing. Okay, right. So what I am going to do just now is share my screen, and oh, good. Lots of people just coming in just now. One second. Let me just kind of maximize, and then I'll share after that. And ding, 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 ding. There we go. Share. Okay. So hopefully you should be able to see a screen that basically says maximizing yield from existing clients. Give us a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind, just to kind of check that. Thank you very much. Ed and Co. And let's go here. Okay, brilliant. You can probably see me off to the side there as well. So I'll just try to get that out of the way. There we go. Right, maximizing yield from existing clients, and I'm going to run into this now. If you've got anything you want to say, we're going to have a few people on the call, but I really want the engagement. So if you want to say something, if you think what I'm saying is counter to your understanding, I do not have the monopoly on wisdom. Feel free to come off of mute if you're comfortable doing so, and metaphorically sticking your hand up and just challenging me in the moment. Feel free to do that. We don't want anarchy, but I do want engagement. If you're not comfortable necessarily, or if it's poor sort of connectivity where you are, feel free to put something in the chat box, and I'll do my very best to monitor the chat box. But I'm only a bloke, and I can only do one thing at a time, okay? Right, so here we go. So maximizing yields from existing clients. So using the chat box, it'd be really helpful to know location. Whereabouts in the world are you? I'm in York, the old one, about a couple hundred miles north of London, originally founded by the Romans in AD 71. So we're nearly 2,000 years old, 1,950 years old. Wonderful city. If ever you get, I've been to New York many, many times. Old York, I can assure you, is the antithesis of New York. Loads of history. You can walk one into the other in 15 minutes. Beautiful place if ever you get a chance to come here. But we're not talking about York today. We're talking about something else. Let me know what you sell. Ed, I can pretty much guess what you sell because it kind of says so. But it'd be really interesting to know what you sell. And just in case you're thinking, well, I don't sell anything. I do this, that, that. I've got to tell you, unless, I believe everyone is in sales to some degree. Some people have it on their business card. They're doing it full time, 100% of the time for their company. But if you're a small business owner, you are doing everything from selling to operations to licking the stamps to all kinds of things. And selling is just one of those things that you have to do. So what do you sell? And what do you really sell? So your payroll solutions or whatever it is that you're selling, that's just what you do. I want to challenge your thinking about here. What do you really sell? And I want to go back to, now some of you are new to this and very welcome to the call. But some of you have been on a few calls just now. You will know, those of you that have been on a few times, there are only two benefits that you can deliver for your clients. Only two. And they are to help them sell more stuff or reduce their costs. And if you're really good, a combination of the two. So you can either help them sell more stuff or reduce their costs. Nothing else matters. So if you're not positioning your product or service against one of those two benefits, then you've had benefit from this call already. You are missing the trick, and you're not going to land your messages in the way that you'd hoped. Okay, so that's what you really sell. And also, because we're talking about existing clients, I'd be really interested to know how much repeat business do you get? So if you invoice $100 or £100 or rupees per month, what percentage of that is business with your existing clients versus new business, what I would call new logo business with someone you've never done business with before? I'd be fascinated to know the answers to that. So just while you're doing that, let the comments come through. In a nutshell, in fact, it's like, my goodness, yesterday was my 34th year in business to business corporate sales, 34 years. So I started when I was about 4, and it's been a wild ride ever since. The last 3 years, pandemic, of course, the rules of sales, whilst broadly the same, the way that we go about that is manifestly different. So I believe there's much more humanity required in sales, not the Jordan Belfort or the Leo DiCaprio sort of persona that you've seen on The Wolf of Wall Street. That for me, that was always buried back in the 1980s when I started my sales career. Now we want people that care about their customers, genuinely care about A, doing a good job, but B, caring about their customers' well-being, I believe. And that's the place I come from in my sales training. So anyway, here end of the lecture. I've worked for some big brands that you probably will have heard, that you will have heard of. Hewlett Packard, or HPE as they're now known, BT, big telecoms player, EDS, now part of HP, funnily enough. That's the world of IT for you, and a whole host of SMEs, generally around technology and telecoms, but also I've worked for a few universities and business schools as well, turning around certain products. I've sold pretty much everything from broadband at $45 a month, right up to software outsourcing deal at well over $1 billion. And the collective learning that I've got working on those deals is that the principles of sales are pretty much the same. Some are more complex than others, some are simpler than others. There's more people involved in some sales, and sometimes it's only yourself in other sales. But broadly, they're generally about creating desire for not just your product, but your company too. Okay, right. So, and now I'm in sales training, sales coaching, and all the rest of it. That's about me. Now, some of you were on the call last week, and I neglected, I apologize, but if you want the link to this video, by all means, drop me a note in the chat. I won't see it now, but I will pick it up afterwards, and I will send you the link. This is basically, you might recognize this image from Peaky Blinders, the West Midlands' or Birmingham's finest. And it's a breakdown, a deconstruction, if you like, of a sales pitch. It was only 1 minute long, but the video is a lot longer for the great sales skills that are demonstrated in there. So if you want that, by all means, drop it in the chat, and I will send it after this call, hand on heart. There you go, you can just about see that. And also, just a call to action, if you like. When you go through to that video, I'd be really grateful. Hit subscribe. I'm really looking to build that subscriber base, and I hope that me giving out something for free, which I hope is also useful, then you can reciprocate by helping me build my subscriber base. Okay, right. So, well, by the way, that's the QR code that will take you directly to the YouTube. I'll just keep that up there for another few seconds. So if you take a picture of that, that will take you through to the YouTube. Okay, so the takeaways from last week around closing the sale. I've been taking this through a process. Sales, closing the sale is a natural conclusion to a high gain, well qualified conversation. So if you're talking to the right people, the right kind of prospect who wants to buy the right kind of service, i.e. the service that you provide, then closing the sale should be a natural conclusion. There shouldn't be too much tension around, will you buy from me, and all of that. I'm not going to go into all that because we did that last week. Also, if you want a copy of that, session, put it in the chat and I'll do my best to get you the link. So if you proved your value to them, then closing the sale should be a natural conclusion. But rule number one is you've got to ask. You've got to guide the customer, because whilst you may know, you may be a professional salesperson or professional business person that's used to selling your product, your customer, your prospect at this stage may not be an experienced buyer, and you'll have to guide them through the process. Okay, so ask for the business. Okay, so test close. How does that sound? Any questions? So dipping your toe in the water is a great way to test whether they're ready to buy or whether they'll need more information or something else from you before they commit to buying. Negotiate sensibly. Remember, no business is better than bad business. That's an old Lord Weinstock thing. It's 70 years old, but it's still as crisp as ever today in 2022. And the whole power of conditionality. If I do this, I need you to do that. And that's a great way to train your buyer. Okay, and then the power of silence. That's 5 seconds. And already some people are starting to feel a little bit fidgety. 5 seconds of silence, enormously powerful. So learn how to harness that and be your authentic self, using words that you're comfortable using in the context of your client, words that they will also understand. Right, moving on. Okay, this is maximizing yield from existing customers. Finally, we're on to this. And I talked about a sales process. Sales process goes from value proposition at the very beginning of the process. We're talking about an end-to-end here. Beginning of the process to go to market, how you take those messages to market, generating not just any old lead, the right kind of lead, qualifying the opportunity. Do you want to do business with that customer? Yes or no. That's a fairly brief sort of statement, if you like. How to pursue that deal, negotiating and closing, and then maximizing yield. That's where we are today. Right, now some of you may or you may not recognize this guy. He's often known as the father of management thinking. His name is Peter Drucker. You can Google him afterwards if you like, but he said two great things, a number of great things, two specifically relevant to my business. First of which is nothing happens until somebody sells something. I firmly believe that. So we can be the greatest in HR, the greatest in operations or finance or any of those things, but until somebody sells something, nobody gets paid. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing is the purpose of the business is to create and keep a customer. So if you can get past, actually, I believe the main purpose of business is to generate cash for the shareholders. Yes, that's true. But putting that aside, the sustainability of the business is on its ability to create and keep customers. And I'll get on to why that is. Let's go through some facts and figures. Why is existing business really, really important? Instead of relentlessly pursuing new business, I'm not undermining the importance of new business, but existing business is often overlooked. Excuse me 1 second. Thank you. Okay, facts and figures. So the cost of acquiring new clients, according to Harvard Business Review, a few years ago, but still relevant today, is between 5 and 25 times as much as retaining existing customers. So in short, if your marketing budget, if your general sales and admin budget is £100 for each new customer, the likelihood is the cost of keeping existing customers where you've got existing relationships is only 20% of that. It's £20. So I just want to put that into dollars, pounds, rupees, whatever it happens to be. It's really, really expensive buying new customers, acquiring new customers versus existing. So this is why it's worth focusing on. The mobile phone industry, excuse me, is typical of this, and they've got themselves into a rut. Or if you're in the States, the cellular industry, they've got themselves into a big rut. The general what they call churn in that industry is about 36%. It varies country on country, but it normally begins with a 3. And so you're having to sell to 37 customers just to make any kind of progress, because 36 are falling out the bottom of the funnel because the emphasis has gone on winning new customers at the expense of existing customers. So that's a huge, and I can see 1 or 2 people nodding. Thank you for that. It's always good to know some people are in agreement at 36%. The energy industry, or the utility industry, as you might call it, around the world, is a similar, the similar metric in the energy industry is, it might be slightly higher this year because we've got a few weird things going on in the market, but it used to be 3%. And that's because a new phone, a new cell phone is really exciting, especially if you're like me and you love your Apple products and all of that. It's really cool to go out and get the latest 13 Pro Max, whatever it happens to be. A new energy utility contract, well, if I could get my 10-year-old to go buy it for me, I would, because I don't find that very exciting. So, and that's why the attrition, the churn in that industry is so low. All right, brilliant. Even said, when I ran call centers for a big energy provider a few years ago, we used to have to sell to 168,000 sales every year. So I'm not even going to, but it's about 3,000 a week. Spread across several hundred agents, but that's just to stand still in that industry. So it's very, very expensive industry to operate in. Okay, but we are mainly talking, I think, to SME businesses here. There will be 1 or 2 big businesses on here as well. I'm afraid it's still a sobering truth for you. So, number one reason, and this is really, really important, number one reason customers switch supplier is because existing, if you're an existing customer, it feels like you've been neglected probably for years, because they're focused on new customers. That's where all the love goes, the TLC, if you like, and the marketing budget and all of that. And so Netflix came to prominence even before the pandemic. Netflix has been on scene 20 years, is because of the hassle of going down to the video rental shop. And with the greatest of respect, there are 1 or 2 people that will remember VCRs and go to Blockbuster and all of that, myself included. And that was hassle-free, my goodness. And if you returned it a day late, man, you just as well have bought the movie. Netflix come in, and all of a sudden they've got a hassle-free, very convenient, subject to the capability of your broadband, but that's somewhat out of their control, and having the right TV. But all of those things in place, all things being equal, Netflix is incredibly convenient. You can spend all your money from your armchair with a remote control and all those, and that's why those businesses are winning. So my question to you is, are you making it incredibly convenient for your customers to deal with you? If you're putting any barriers in the way, that's enough. We've seen from the stats that is enough to make them go elsewhere, because someone else is just making it dead easy. I can just do business with this other company in the beat of a heart. Okay, right, in heartbeat rather. Okay, so, and also, let's not get into that. But anyway, I think you're all already sold on that. Here's some cold, hard question for you. So I believe I sell based on relationships and my knowledge in working with customers. But from my experience, and I don't claim to have the monopoly on wisdom, but from my experience, winning a second order from a client is sometimes harder than winning the first order. Okay, and the reason for that is because they've already sampled the goods. So you've gone from pre-sales and this wonderful vista, this wonderful sunset on the horizon that you're both going to walk out hand in hand. And all of a sudden, when they've got the first order and they've really sampled the goods, if you like, firsthand, and they recognize the reality of that light at the end of the tunnel was actually a train coming the other way. Yeah, sometimes getting that second order is really, really hard. So that's why it's worth it's worth investing to make sure that that second order is less has less friction to it than getting the first one. Once they're in and in your universe, do your darndest to keep a hold of them, and I try really hard with that. And in my own world, I'm offering new products, new learning opportunities, engagement with me and others that work with me around keeping their sales going. That's my point. That's my world. Here's a really sobering question. So you think you're good at ABC, whatever those ABCs are, the benefits of dealing. Do you remember at the very beginning, what do you sell? What do you really sell? So we're selling benefits, which is either selling more stuff, reducing cost, saving cost. Excuse me. So you think your benefits are ABC. Have you ever had a conversation with your customer? Shall we say a tame customer, a friendly customer? Not all of them are. Around, well, we think we deliver ABC. What do you think, Mr. Customer? And I'll tell you, the response to that question can be very sobering. So you might think you're great at this, Keith, but actually the reality is whatever that happens to be. But they also might tell you that, so for instance, when I just to put this into a real life example, when I used to sell video conferencing systems about 10 years ago. Now we're talking on video now from our living rooms or offices or whatever it happens to be. But when I was doing this back in 08, 09, so oh my goodness, 15 years ago, I worked with a big insurance company. They had 4 rooms around the world: Chicago, London, York, where I am now, coincidentally, Singapore. That was about $2 million to deliver, and about 300,000 a year in video network costs, because you needed a really high grade video network to do that, low jitter, and all those things we take for granted now but weren't taken for granted back then. So we thought we were going to save them loads of money, or because they wouldn't have to jump on a plane anymore. And so we thought, you know, the benefits at ABC were going to be those. When we spoke to David, the then CEO, excuse me, he said, well, whilst that is true, he said, although most of our execs love traveling, so we're never going to get them completely out of that. And I've been in that world, and I kind of recognize, for the most part, that that's a nice thing to do sometimes, although there is a limit. He said the benefit, and that's why the D is in red here, the real benefit is the ability of our business to make decisions faster than waiting for a scheduled flight, taking the flight, recovering from the journey, meeting the CFO of whatever far-flung franchise on a Friday morning, 4 or 5 days later, coming back, reflecting on it, making a decision. So the ability to get in front of a screen, as we are right here, right now, is incredibly important. So that was a benefit that we didn't, because we didn't live their world, but we didn't know that we were able to repeat back to new customers. And that was what we might call market intelligence, if you like. And it gave us insight, and I will refer to that word in a few minutes' time. It gave us insight that we wouldn't all otherwise have had. So, but also be prepared, just in case it's a difficult conversation. You must listen and you must act on what they've told you. So I'm going to talk also about a silent sales force. And I'm in Yorkshire, in the county town of York. And one thing we know about is managing cash. To try and get money out of a Yorkshireman is really, really hard. So we believe greatly in silent sales forces. And what I mean by that is it's not your formal sales force or your directors of a company if you don't have a formal sales force. If you're in Microsoft, for instance, let me take this because Mehdi, I know you're on the line too, welcome, is you're going to have certain customers who have got bragging rights. They've got great brands. So let's say that Nike, for instance, I'm not sure anyone from Nike is on the line, but they would be a great brand to brag about, that we do business with Nike. They love our product, whatever that happens to be. That is your silent sales force. So your ability to reach up into that customer and say, hey, listen, I've got a prospect. We think they want to do business with us. Would you mind talking to them to say how wonderful we are? And here's a tip from bitter personal experience. Make sure you speak to them beforehand. Don't just give their name out. Going back a few years in the world of telecoms, some equipment we were looking to sell to Citigroup, or Citicorp as it was at the time. I said, yeah, speak to Gordon, my contact over here. He'll say some. And luckily, this customer or prospect, as they were at the time, weren't doing business. They phoned me up and said, okay, Keith, can you this time give us someone who will say something nice about your product? What I hadn't realized was there was a service issue, and the guy declined to give a reference to us. Thank heavens he gave me a second chance. Not many people would do that. We'd have been toast. But and that takes you back to building trust, rapport, and everyone has issues, of course, but it's what you do about those issues that really, really counts. And that's why it's important to keep your existing customers. So that's an example of a silent sales force. And in a minute, not just right now, I want you to reflect on who in your customer base could act as one of your silent sales force. I'll ask you those questions in a couple of minutes. And do you remember I spoke a couple of minutes ago about insight? Excuse me 1 second. I'm just going to grab just get a bit thirsty there. I talked about insight, and I talk about taking a gift to your customer, because one thing you want to do, as I am guessing you're not the only one in the world that does what you do. All of us have got competition. I know you're going to find this hard to believe, but there are other sales trainers out there in the marketplace. So when was the last time you took a gift to your customer meeting? And by that, what I mean is not a box of chocolates or a bottle of rosé or whatever it happens to be. I mean the gift of insight. Insight, telling your customer, your prospect, something about either their business, their organization, or their market. So, for instance, if you'd have foreseen a couple of years ago the worldwide shortage of semiconductors, and you'd have gone to your automotive client saying, we believe, we've run the numbers and tested it out with economists, we believe there's going to be a worldwide shortage of semiconductors. We believe you should overinvest at this time, build inventory so that you can continue manufacturing cars when the rest of the industry is going to really struggle. You'll gain market share. And when we're out of the pandemic, as things start to normalize, you will be in pole position with whatever segment that you're going after, whatever your message. That's what I mean by insight. Now, if you know your business, which I feel certain you do, what are those insights? What are the top 3 messages you would love to give your customer and really rate and prioritize that information and think about it? Don't give it away cheaply. If you're in a first meeting, you certainly want to demonstrate your prowess, your credentials with that client. And you may want to think about the timing that you give those insights. So building credibility early and often is one of the ways that you can do that. Okay, right, moving on. Next, yeah, we've already done that. And okay, right, so why bother? So most people that I speak to before I get involved with them have got what I call a donor-recipient relationship. Donor-recipient relationship. And what that means is, Ed, I'm going to pick on your company just now. I feel sure you're not in this bracket, having spoken with you a couple of minutes previously, but a donor-recipient relationship is where somebody goes to your company and they buy your payroll services and you supply them. So they give you $100 and you supply the services and you go off into the sunset and that's it. Nothing else happens. That is a donor-recipient relationship, and it's very easy.
Oh, shit.
Hey, if someone wants to come in, come on in. Okay, right, so that's a donor-recipient relationship, and you are very easy, you're very exposed to being unseated by someone else that goes to that client and wants to steal your business and is going to provide even more value, whatever that customer sees as value. Shirley, did you want to say something? I noticed you've come off of mute.
Good morning, Keith. How are you?
I'm marvelous, thank you.
I'm happy to be here. I had a little bit of a problem
Okay.
officially registering and signing in, but I
Oh,
got it. And
I'm
I
sorry. I'm glad
this
you're
never
here.
happened again. I apologize,
Uh,
but I'm enjoying what I'm hearing,
but I'm very
and
pleased to
it's
hear
very
that. Very pleased
beneficial to me.
Okay, good news. Good news.
Thank you.
If that's okay, Julie, put yourself back on mute unless you want to jump in future. And excuse me. So donor recipient relationships, they're commoditized. They're easy to replace. We talk sometimes in sales, we talk about stickiness. If you've got a very sticky customer solution, something which is not easy to unseat. An example would be an enterprise resource planning piece of software, ERP, as it's shortened to. Those are not easy to unseat. It would take years to win a customer if someone's just installed one of those. That's an example of a very sticky solution. Anyway, so there you go. Easy on seat, but low customer lifetime value. We'll go into that in just a second. Customer lifetime value is literally how much is that customer worth to you in revenue terms. Well, actually, majorly in revenue terms over the lifetime of a relationship. So if you have a customer that spends, I don't know, say $100 a year, obviously there's much more, but that's a nice round number, $100 a year, and you typically have a 3-year contract with you, then their lifetime value to you is 3 times 100, which is the 300, no prizes for that, minus whatever it cost you to acquire that customer with your marketing spend, if you like, cost to acquire, we would call that. Anyway, so you get the point. So customer lifetime value, if that goes up, makes your business more valuable, it makes you more valuable to your customer. So my recommendation is you become a trusted advisor. If you really believe in that client and that type of business, you'll be much more valuable if you become a trusted advisor to that business, and they will reciprocate. They will become your sales champions, like I mentioned with that technology reference that almost unseated me before. Excuse me. Your relationships become more valuable to both parties. You're more valuable to them, which is fundamental, and they're valuable to you too. Stickiness, I've already mentioned. Okay, right. So from that, okay. So where are we focusing? So I'm just going to go to the chat box here, and I'm really interested to see of those of you that are selling here or have your own businesses. Are you selling to big businesses, what I would call Fortune 500, or organizations with over, let's say, 1,000 people? Are you doing big business, or are you selling mainly to smaller businesses? Ed, I'll certainly send that link to you. Yes, okay, and all that. Okay, a startup, yeah, Phil Strange. Okay, so Phil Strange's company is going to be selling. Andrea, yes, plus 500 Phil Strange, yes. Okay, brilliant. So we've got some larger businesses for sale. So if you imagine, anyone who knows me will know that I love pies. And so what better example to give than a pie chart? So if you can imagine, the pie is 100% of the customer. Let's go with Nike as a customer. And now most IT salespeople, and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, most IT salespeople will just go to IT and say, what do you want to buy this month? Or a conversation which is approximately that. Well, IT spend about 3% of their budget on IT for themselves. And they're probably only 3% of the overall company as well, which means you're leaving 97% on the table. If anyone wants to challenge me on that, feel free. I'm over 18 considerably. Small to medium non-profits with John. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. So focus on the entirety. Yes, IT. What are you doing with finance, with operations, with HR? what are you doing to create demand for your product or service? What insights can you give them? Why would it benefit them to do business with you? And that's the conversations that you want to be having with your customers. Okay, right. So when we talked about Netflix and blockbusters a minute ago, again, I want to talk about a concept now, which is called third box selling. I'm going to use the example again of who shall we use? We'll use the example of automotive. Let's say we're selling to Jaguar Land Rover, or if you're in the United States, Jaguar Land Rover. Okay, so the concept of third box selling on your screen right now is that you, or obviously on the left there, that's you, that's your product, your service, and you're selling to your customer. In this case, Jaguar Land Rover, JLR for short. That's your customer, and if you're not careful, you're going to get into a donor-recipient relationship. Now, do you remember at the beginning of this call, we talked about benefits? Which two benefits are you offering? Are you helping Jaguar Land Rover sell more of their product, or are you helping them reduce their costs? Or even better, are you helping them to do a bit of both, and in what ratio? So if you're helping them sell more stuff, that automatically makes you probably much more valuable, depending on the operating context of JLR. And there are always cost issues with, certainly in the automotive world, they go from major profits to major losses in a heartbeat, a bit like the airline industry. But my point is, if you're helping them sell more stuff in the third box, that's what I call third box selling. If you're helping them sell more Jaguars, Land Rovers, Range Rovers around the world, for whatever reason that might be, I can't think of one offhand, but it will be, I don't know, whatever makes their products more desirable. Brand, perhaps you're strengthening their brand, perhaps you're making them more agile so they can open in more locations around the world more quickly. They can respond to market conditions. That makes you very, very desirable. You've got a very sticky customer relationship there, and you'll be harder to unseat. That's my point of third box selling. Right, hopefully that drove home. Okay, so maximizing yield. Let's go first principle here. Will your customers help you win other customers, win other clients? Will they be part of your sales, silent sales force? Will they become champions on your behalf? Now, here's the key. At the beginning of my middle part of my sales career, I beg your pardon, I had one particular customer. In that business, we would call them a whale, if you like. One particular customer, and this is why you do business with people and not with companies. One particular customer who left NatWest at the time and went to work for a German bank. And guess what? Because he trusted me to deliver on time, the right products, right services at the right time, and he'd made a career out of that, a success out of those decisions. I got first right of refusal on another contract when he moved to the German bank. So what relationships have you got that are portable? Where are they going? Have they just moved? Where did they come from? Can they refer you? Everyone thinks referrals are for micro businesses, tiny businesses, go and sell someone else a pair of shoes or whatever it happens to be, but they're not. Referrals work at all ends of the market. Okay, right. Righto. Okay, so case studies. Will they make case studies? Will they go to print with you? Will they make a video about how great your service or solution was? And can you use their brands? Have you got what we refer to as bragging rights? Will they help you do that? That's really, really powerful. Correct, we've done that. And yeah, case studies. I'm not going to play anything on that for here. Okay, so referrals. Yeah, actually, one of my best referrals hasn't given me a PO for a while, but Jane has introduced me to other clients in that time. So even though she's not spending money, I've got her to a point where she can, she no longer needs coaching. She'll come back at some stage, I'm sure. But in the meantime, she's referred me to other people as well. She's become part of my silent sales force, if you like. And will they give you a LinkedIn recommendation, not just endorsements right down the bottom with, you know, so-and-so's good at Excel or whatever it happens to be. Will they say something nice about you, not your company necessarily, which is helpful, but your personal brand? And that's where LinkedIn comes to life. It's about your personal brand. So yes, okay, all right. Okay, right, so right, live captions are going on. If that's going to help accessibility issues, we're going to go with that. Okay, right, so will they do that? Will the client allow you to put their logo on your website? Now, that's a fantastic thing if they will, but if you're doing business with a PwC or a JLR, if you ask an official question like that, the answer will almost certainly be, we'll have to speak to our PR and communications team, and in which case the answer will almost certainly be no. So you have a choice to make. Do you take a chance? And I'm not necessarily condoning that, but if you did, you wouldn't be the first. Or are you not going to do it? Are you just going to mention it informally to the meetings and all the rest of it? Okay, so I'll just put that out there. I personally, I proceed until apprehended. I'm not suggesting you should be blasé, certainly not, always measured. But these things can come back and bite you in the backside if you're not careful. Right, we're into the last couple of minutes. I'm going to go into that in just a second. So let's just say adjacency. How do you sell more stuff to your customers? Let's just say you're in the business of providing websites, let's say, excuse me. And you think, okay, so we've got that customer, they like us, they trust us. What else can we do with them? What else can we sell something to? What else can we sell to them? And so we might progress from websites to paid ads. How can we get more traffic to their website, transacting? How can we sell more stuff that help them sell more stuff? And that would be paid ads. That would be a natural progression, building websites and then paid ads. That would pass the smell test for most people. And then what you do next? You would go, okay, well, now we've got that and we've got immediacy on leads. What else can we do? Can we sell them SEO services, search engine optimization, for those of you unfamiliar with that? What else can we do? And that would be a natural progression. I would buy that. If I trusted them to do those first two things, I'd certainly be open to a proposal to sell SEO to them. And what else beyond that? Brand, not just brands, but online brands. Could I make a leap there? Could I trust them to do that? And the answer is possibly, actually. Possibly I could trust them to do that. Not with my corporate brand, that's probably off limits, and that's probably the Wolf Olins of the world and all the rest of it. But your online brand, you could probably go into that territory. Reason why that's worth doing is that pays 2,000 a day versus everything else that pays 300 a day or thereabouts. That's why those are important things to pursue. Okay, right. So what's next? And I'm coming into the last. In fact, I'm going to make it the last 1 minute. So with everything that we've just done, I am going to ask you to think about what's on the list here. What benefits are you currently, do you think you are currently delivering them? I can send this to you if you want this as a PDF. I can send it to you afterwards, but I just want you to think about it whilst it's on the screen. And what would you like to sell them next? And if possible, why would they buy that? I'm just going to leave a few seconds for you to cogitate that, because we're right on the money just now. Okay, right. Now you've been thinking about that. Client growth requires a plan. I'm not going to go through all the things on this list again. If you want this, I will send it to you. If you want the link, I can do, I beg your pardon, I can send you this as a PDF. But these are all the considerations. If you want to go through a growth exercise, a growth, almost a feasibility study with your top 3 clients, these are the kinds of issues you're going to need to examine or navigate to see if that's going to be a worthwhile investment. So if you do, just drop it in the comments and I'll take care of it afterwards. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we've done all that. Measures of loyalty, and we talked about wallet share and all of that, and I'm going to wrap up now. Okay, brilliant. 1 minute over time, so apologies about that, but I am wrapping up now. So maximizing existing clients, what it's all about. Be of value. It's about value. Be more than just a donor-recipient relationship.
I agree.
I'm very pleased to hear that, Shirley. Thank you. More than a donor, be valued.
100%.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Sorry, where are you from again, Shirley?
Illinois.
You're in, well, okay, that's a big place, but you're in Illinois. Okay, brilliant. I got it.
No, sorry. You want me to be more specific. I'm in Waukegan.
Waukegan. Okay, right, got that. Thank you. So your value proposition, remember, you might think it's A, B, and C. Your customer might think it's A, B. Yes, we agree with that, but also D. Remember I talked about the insurance company, and we can make faster decisions. That's really, really important. So seek that intelligence. Okay. Adjacency. What else can we sell them? Yes. Relationship development. Trusted advisor. Take a gift, and then plan your growth. And if possible, if you can get your customer to buy into that, as you know, Ed, yeah, that makes sense, or Ed, you have no chance of winning that particular piece of business because whatever it is. But that's all intelligence, and there's no such thing as, well, there's such thing as inaccurate intelligence, but I don't think there's actually any such thing as, you know, bad or worthless intelligence. And then who are your sales champions? Who will sell stuff on your behalf? No time to do the quiz just now, but I want to tell you about what we're going to do next week. We're going to talk about objection handling. Objection handling.
What kind of handling?
Objections. Objections.
Oh, good point.
Thank you. I have good points from time to time, Shirley. So objections.
Of course you do, Keith.
When someone says, nope, what do you do then? So we're going to go into that. And if anyone, by the way, for those of you that have been able to stay on the call, if anyone's struggling or grappling with any particular objections they don't know how to get over, either add it to the chat or DM me on LinkedIn, and I will try and figure something out for next week. In addition to doing that next week, next Tuesday, in fact, on the Monday evening, the night before, I'm going to be doing something on LinkedIn for brilliant how to create a good LinkedIn profile. So I hope that's going to be worthwhile. Let me come off of share a second then. Brilliant. We've still got loads left. So now I can see people on the screen, and that's fantastic. So going to wind up now. I'm really hoping you'll join me next week for objection handling. If there's any questions you've got in the meantime, drop me a DM if we're connected on LinkedIn, or stick it for Jeff. Hey, Jeff, thank you. Appreciate that. But if not, I'm going to go down for a lie down in a darkened room just now and get myself a coffee or something. I'm going to wish you guys the very happiest of days and weeks ahead, and I'm going to look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, if that's okay. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
That's fine. Thank you. If I was there, I'd buy your coffee this morning or this afternoon.
Bless you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Keith.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.